What's up, folks? This is Acid Roots. So I'm going to review DJ Khaled's 2017 double album, Grateful. So, yeah, double albums are starting to happen more often. I kind of like the sound of that, but I wanted to start getting into the meat of some of these to be able to determine if they're actually good. Last month, I reviewed Lil Wayne's The Carter 5, and I kind of had mixed reactions to it. I mean, I was glad that it was a double album, but it did not have enough of the point to have two full discs worth of hits. So I wanted to kind of see if DJ Khaled had that problem also. I mean, honestly, you wouldn't know that just from the fact that of the singles that came out from this project, judging by the fact that like there were four singles basically. Only one was a promotional single, but three were actually singles, and they all charted extremely well. Particularly, I'm the One, which basically has about 1 billion views on YouTube, has Justin Bieber on the hook, Quavo and Chance the Rapper kind of half singing, and then Lil Wayne, who usually knocks out his DJ Khaled verses rather well. He's been a mainstay with DJ Khaled, so he could do that. So, um, for me to kind of get into like some of this, I'm going to kind of talk back and forth with this, but I guess to kind of elaborate on that a little more, the thing about the 2017 stuff was just the fact that trap music was kind of starting to blow up more. The Future and Travis Scott and Migos and some of those type cats, in some cases Yo Gotti type sound, 21 Savage, some of those folks. So that was kind of starting to happen, and particularly more than it did on Major Key and I Changed a Lot. It really, this is where, by this point, Migos had dropped Bad and Bougie, which was, where Trap, that was a song that kind of signified like a change in, like, a paradigm shift almost, and Future was cresting off of like his Future Hendrix projects with like Mask Off and some of those songs. And there was just a bunch of trap kind of going back and forth and such. So I was kind of, and that's the thing about it, is I was glad, that was in the early years of when I was doing Acid Roots. That was in the early years of Acid Roots. I was still kind of trying to get my channel up and running and stuff, but I knew of some of these songs. I knew at least, I remember hearing Wild Thoughts on the radio, and I remember hearing I'm the One on the radio. And in some cases, I think I might have heard like the Drake song a couple of times, but just to kind of say about that, I mean, really, I feel like 2017 was one of DJ Khaled's biggest years, and that was kind of the situation as far as that went. Obviously he would typically, just like with All I Do Is Win and I'm So Hood and We Taken Over and some of those type songs, I mean, he had gotten hit singles, and even I'm On One, he had gotten hit singles in the past, but he never quite managed to get like a second follow-up. Most DJ Khaled albums were just kind of known for like the one hit on there, and then you'd get like some B list or C plus list like rap music besides that, with collaborations that sometimes came through, sometimes didn't. And that's just what I came to expect. You think of albums like Kiss the Ring or Victory or some of those, they pretty much only had like 3 or 4 hits out of 12 or 13. So I was kind of, for DJ Khaled to bulk things up, get like a huge amount of fanfare and just to see what he could do with the double album. That was kind of the situation. But we'll get to the singles now. I am going to say that this album is not going to really score that high. I mean, I applaud what they were doing and the effort that went into it, but it's really, just like Lil Wayne, it's not that fantastic. And but I do have to at least say bravo to the singles, because the 3 singles, all 3 of them are excellent. They all charted extremely high. Particularly I'm the One that hit #1, Wild Thoughts hit #2, Shining kind of was like a modest hit, but it's still good for, Jay-Z has not been on the radio since like the Blueprint 3 or Watch the Throne days, so it's been a while. And so that sort of stuff. So we'll talk about I'm the One. basically this has, I mean, all the people on this song are pretty much chalk ready for radio. People know Lil Wayne, Chance the Rapper, Quavo, Justin Bieber. So I like the hook on this song. I mean, it's really not lyrical, but it's not really trying to be either. I would just have to say that that's kind of the thing. It's not attempting to be. It's mainly just a product of trying to sell the album under like a stylish and kind of relevant term. And that's kind of what I saw with it. Was I remember hearing this song a lot back in 2017, and it's Justin Bieber basically nails the hook. I mean, it's I would have liked. I mean, Chance the Rapper, if we would have substituted him for another lyrical cat like Lil Wayne. But the problem with it is there's not too many lyrical cats like Lil Wayne that could have been on that song, but then still crafted it for the radio also. Like, I don't know if Yo Gotti could have pulled that off or Rick Ross could have pulled that off. It might not have hit number one if it were not Chance the Rapper. So that's kind of the thing. Quavo was a nice fit, but he's not, one of the most lyrical ones. He's more singing than that. But so yeah, that's kind of the thing. It was stylish, just and it was impressive in the sense of being able to do it. But for more casual or for more hardcore rap fans, it might not have like enough substance. But I did like Wild Thoughts. That's really a summer song. Has Rihanna on there, and she basically dominates. I mean, I don't know why Rihanna's been so quiet. It's kind of strange to me. I can't quite figure that out. I mean, she was kind of boo-booed up with Drake for a while. She was kind of laying low key after her Anti album, but that actually charted and continued to get radio play well into 2017, despite it coming out in early 2016. But after about like the summer of 2017, she just was on like less and less songs. But this is just a product of the idea. It's really surprising that Rihanna is being so quiet these days when she's only 30 years old. She's 30, 31, 32 right now, and she only has like a song come out once every 18 or 24 months or something, which is disappointing because she's basically in her prime now. So that's kind of the thing. I mean, she's dropped 8 albums, of course, but this song kind of signifies like the idea that she should still be putting music out more frequently. But that's the thing. I mean, her fans are basically a lot more rabid than even I sound at this point. They're like, feverish over it. But yeah, so that's a hit. Shining with Jay-Z and Beyonce. Um, I was kind of surprised at this. I read a review and they said it was kind of a dance floor number, which I kind of pick up on the more I listen to it. But the first couple listens, I almost didn't like this song. I mean, Beyonce's singing is infectious, but I'm so not used to hearing Jay-Z anymore. Between him subtracting his music from everything but his Tidal streaming service, I don't talk about him too frequently. I mean, he is a lyricist, but he's just so modest anymore and so exclusive. He just really does next to nothing in terms of most current times. So, I mean, ever since about 2013, 2012, Jay-Z has been rather aloof. So this is kind of, hearing him is like, whoa, where, the Jay-Z from like 2006 and 2003, it's completely different from what he has morphed into lately. But yeah, so that's it's a decent song there. I mean, I would say that Wild Thoughts is probably the best of the three, but it's good to hear Beyonce on a single and Jay-Z on a single also. Just because, Beyonce is kind of starting to fade into the background in terms of like contemporary music. So but there was a promotional single, and that was the Drake song "To the Max," and that's kind of uppity. I liked it. It was kind of mid-tempo, but closer to up-tempo, kind of in between mid-tempo and up-tempo. Drake sings on the song. It's not quite as good as "I'm on One," but it's better than like "No New Friends" and some of the other ones that he's done. Maybe like the "For Free" that he did off of Major Key. I mean, Drake, it's always back and forth. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, sometimes Drake will really nail it in some of the songs he does, but other times it just happens to be like a spare Drake song. Not necessarily a bad Drake song, but just kind of spare and not noteworthy, just serviceable. That's kind of the thing. This is above serviceable. I felt like this is a better one. I'm surprised that this didn't chart higher, but I think that's kind of the thing is, it's kind of hit and miss the way Drake will kind of do some of these songs. And maybe it's not intentional, but I don't know. I mean, so that's just kind of the thing. I mean, some people are so spoiled on like I'm on one, you might not think that he can outdo that song again and again, but I think he can. It just depends upon the mood that you're looking from Drake. But all right, to get to the meat of this album now, there's 23 songs minus like a couple interludes and you know, yeah, three interludes. So really there's like 20 songs. The Assad Talk, which is his son, is 16 seconds, and then Betty Wright. I'm thinking she's dead. I'm gonna take a look at that real quick because I'm not sure. Yeah, she died recently, but yeah. So she had an interlude on here. This album kind of has like tastes of like gospel and a slight religion and just more warming feels to it. Songs like Assad Talk and the Alicia Keys and Nicki Minaj song, and then I Love You So Much with Chance the Rapper, the Hallelujah with Betty Wright, and possibly even the I'm So Grateful with Sizzla. I mean, some of this really has like a just a not charming, but uh, overly positive, kind of unctuous kind of concern with some of that. I mean, there is trap and nastiness on here, but it's kind of grafted to the back. And the highlights, the first stuff that you're going to hear is the more presentable and daytime DJ Khaled. But it's kind of dicey as we get into that. I'll talk about some of these. But out of like the remaining 20 songs, there were only 3 of them that I actually enjoyed. So this leaves a lot to be desired in terms of like album cuts. I mean, if the singles did it, it's just unfortunate that like the album cuts did not. The 3 songs that I liked that were album cuts, they were all in the second disc, and they were Down for Life, Pull a Caper, and Iced Out My Arms. So Iced Out My Arms has a beat from Metro Boomin, and he's basically a guy that messes with Future quite often. I think he's from Atlanta, so Future and him have good chemistry. Future's on Iced Out My Arms, and it was kind of neat to hear T.I. on that song, to hear him on some recent trendy stuff. So that was kind of interesting. But that's one of the best beats on here. I think Metro Boomin should have came through with a couple more beats on here. Because, just some of these, like Major Bag Alert, I mean, that felt like a really flaccid Migos song. It didn't quite have the punch of like Bad and Bougie or Slippery or some of those that they were doing in 2017. And, Good Man and Billy Ocean were trying to be like classic DJ Khaled, but they were kind of uninteresting. And some of those like Whatever. I mean, Future is on here quite a bit, but several of his songs just did not pack the punch of like his mixtape self. Which I mean, Future was basically on the hook on most of those, but it just is kind of, they didn't quite nail it. I mean, I think he might have been overused and overappreciated, and it was just it wasn't the monster Future, and it wasn't Dirty Sprite 2 Future that was kind of like that. So it was just kind of blasé. But and that it's the same thing with some of the production. This is like, just like I was saying with how Metro Boomin should have been on here more. I mean, I would have liked to have heard like some beats and stuff. Like Migos had some good beats on Culture, like Slippery and such, but there really isn't something that stands out as much as that. I mean, I would have thought that Migos would have had some better stuff, but Kodak Black kind of did. Pull a Caper is one of the best beats on here. That one really sparkles. And Down for Life has a real sick one also. So that's kind of some sick stuff. But the Travis Scott songs didn't really do it for me. I mean, he's on here a handful of times, but they like his song "Don't Quit" was another weak. That one was attempting to be radio, and I felt like if they would have kept promoting this project, it probably could have been radio related. But didn't have any business even being a single. It was way too weak. Um, really couldn't stand the production in the field of that one. Even if the singing was okay, I think it could be ignored. The Alicia Keys and Nicki Minaj song was too gospel-ish. I didn't. I mean, I like their "Girl on Fire" collaboration, but this is nowhere near uh, a, a follow up to that. And Nicki Minaj really didn't come through on this project. It felt kind of even strange that she was on this project because she didn't really. It was just really off to the side and underused and not outstanding. That's kind of the thing. So the Nas song was weak. I didn't, even if Nas's lyrics were solid on that, I didn't quite like that song. Like I was saying, Travis Scott didn't really come through that much. There's just a lot of filler on here. A lot of bad production, a lot of filler, a lot of just songs that don't really feel like acceptable from like artists that should be doing it. And that's the thing. I would have thought, Fat Joe is just kind of, he just made like a cameo and, some of those cats, but I mean, I would have thought Amigo's song would have done better, but it just kind of felt like, just like I said with Drake, that they just kind of gave them just like a spare song. But, the thing about Migos is they were still kind of in their early fame in 2017, so maybe they didn't quite have the ability as much as Drake to kind of just give DJ Khaled a hit. Just say, hey, this could be ours, make us, several million bucks and chart real high on the Billboard, but maybe they're not quite at that point. Maybe they weren't in early 2017, so that was kind of the thing. But so yeah, and some weak Nicki Minaj and Migos features and stuff like that. I mean, it was just a lot of unnoteworthy stuff that happened in disc 2. So to get to reviewing this, I will tell you the 7 songs that I liked out of 23. So the 7 songs were Iced Out My Arms, I'm the One, Wild Thoughts, Pull a Caper, Down for Life, To the Max, and Shining. So if you notice, 4 out of 7 of those songs are the singles, which DJ Khaled basically nailed. The promotional side of this project really excels. So this is the fact when you look to the rest of the album, especially with it being a double album, and then you kind of realize that there's not a lot of content. It's mostly just filler and pumped up stuff that really kind of falls flat and is half baked. That's kind of the problem. But if you're just really, if you bought this project just because you heard the radio songs, then maybe that won't bother you. But if you were hoping, like, oh, this is a DJ Khaled double album, there's probably going to be like 10 hits on here. There isn't. Well, close to 10, but there's going to be like 13 or 15, something like that. Well, about a third of the project is actually worth bumping and stuff. So, I mean, I do suppose that like the selection here is probably going to vary. You might pick up a few extra ones that you like, but it kind of feels like it's about a third of this album that's going to be, bump worthy and just kind of shit that slaps. That's kind of the thing there. So that's kind of the consecutive thing I came from. But so 18 or 7 out of 23, I would say that's actually less than half. So I'm just gonna give this album a 3.5 out of 10. I would almost give it a 4. I'll give it a 4. A 4 out of 10. 4 out of 10 basically. But that's not saying much. I mean, really, that's not saying much just because, out of 23 songs or 20 songs, only 7 of them are actually good. So that's over half the project that you have to kind of roll your eyes at or ignore. So that's not the best quality, of course, but the social score gets a 10. That gets a perfect score just because a song that hit number 1, a song that hit number 2, a promotional single that charted, and then a modest single that kind of probably still got spins also. That was fantastic for DJ Khaled when he normally only gets 1 hit. So is DJ Khaled basically at the forefront, but it has a great foreground, bad background. That's kind of the situation there. So 4 out of 10.